Hello and welcome to another episode of Snakes Territory. I'm Jesse Friedman alongside Jack Sommers. And Jack, we will talk about Ryne Nelson pitching very well in this game and Eugenio Suárez having a big day along with some of the other Diamondbacks hitters. But before we do that, I feel like it might be fitting for us to talk about the fact that this game got a little bit interesting as the Diamondbacks beat the Blue Jays 9-5, but Jack, they had to use their closer. They had to use Shelby Miller in order to do it. A game that they led 9-1 in the seventh inning. They had to use their closer. That is just sort of the state of this 2025 Diamondbacks team right now.
So just a little insight, for folks, when we have to write game stories for our website, some games should be very easy to kind of knock out 80% of the article and then just put the finishing touches on and be able to bang it out there the minute the game is over. But we're also traumatized with massive rewrites that we've basically we'll write about the starting pitcher's outing and then leave everything else blank and then have to do the rest of the article after. At the score of 9-1, I asked Alex D'Agostino, who's writing our game recap today, so how's that recap coming along? And he goes, I stopped writing as soon as DeSclafani came in the game.
Yeah.
And basically just said, I'm going to be a little while. So, this is what we deal with on a daily basis as professionals. I can only imagine what it's like for fans.
Anthony DeSclafani, you mentioned it. He was not particularly good in this game, Jack. Someone the Diamondbacks just picked up here within the last week or so. They had a 9-1 lead going into the seventh inning. You figured that DeSclafani could maybe finish out the game, even if he gave up a couple of runs. Obviously, you still had a pretty good cushion there, but he gave up more than a couple of runs. He gave up 4 runs in 2 innings of work, was able to dial up a big double play in order to escape trouble in the 8th inning. Felt like things could have gotten even worse there. But this is just the way things are for the Diamondbacks right now, Jack. We've said it a number of times. No lead is safe with this team, and when we say that, we really kind of mean no lead. The Diamondbacks had an 8-run lead in this game, and yes, they did manage to hold on. They still won this game by 4 runs, but you don't want to have to use your closer in a game like that. And that's something we've seen burn the Diamondbacks in the past several weeks as well. It's not just, trying to win these games. It's trying to win these games without needing Shelby Miller to come in and pitch every single game. And of course, they were not able to do that today.
Yeah, it was our Jesse and mine's offline text message joking back and forth that prompted my little Twitter poll that I put up just before the game ended, asking whether or not DeSclafani was going to force Shelby Miller into the game. And sure enough, he did. And it just wasn't surprising. It wasn't like, oh my God, how could that happen? It would have been the opposite. If it hadn't happened, I would have been surprised. And, DeSclafani just got here. So, I'm not trying to bag on him. It's just the way this has been. Anybody not named, AJ Puck and Justin Martinez and Shelby Miller, and I guess we can include Jalen Beeks in that. If you take out those 4 guys, anybody with more than 5 or 10 innings pitched for this bullpen has been pretty much terrible. The soft underbelly of this has just been incredibly bad. And I don't really know the answer to it. Even the guys that have been kind of good have been inconsistent, like, for example, Murillo. He's been much better lately, though. So, we'll see where it goes from here. In the case of DeSclafani, he signed his deal with the Diamondbacks with the understanding that he was going to be on the Major League roster. And so he had 5 starts with AAA for the Yankees. As you pointed out, that was the International League, not the PCL, where it's a little easier to pitch. So we'll see where it goes from here. But they were talking about on the broadcast how, they're trying to get him up to speed. This isn't the time or place to be getting a guy up to speed.
Yeah, it struck me in the moment as kind of a strange move. Bryce Jarvis was pitching reasonably well for the D-backs. He had actually had an outing similar to what the Diamondbacks wanted DeSclafani to do in this game shortly before the move happened, where he was able to finish off a game, get the 3-inning save and save the rest of the bullpen. I think he was doing just fine, but I guess the D-backs maybe saw an opportunity to pick up DeSclafani and were like, hey, we just need pitching depth. Like, we just really need more pitching depth. This is an opportunity to add to that, even if it means sending Bryce Jarvis down. Obviously, it hasn't looked so good for DeSclafani just yet. We'll circle around to more bullpen talk a little bit later in the show, but the Diamondbacks did win this game, Jack. They did win this game 9-5. Ryne Nelson really set the tone from the get-go. I think he threw 7 pitches in the first inning. He did give up an early home run to Alejandro Kirk, but that was the only hit that Nelson allowed in this game, 5 2/3. Just that 1 hit, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts. He was exactly what the Diamondbacks needed here in this one.
Yeah, I mean, when you only give up 1 hit, it's a solo home run. Obviously, you're pitching well. This is the Ryne Nelson that we've come to appreciate when he's on. He's able to really blow guys away with, fastballs at the top of the zone. He was able to command the zone today. He wasn't wild at all. He's the last calendar year, he's arguably been the best pitcher on the team. And if you go back to June 20th of last year to now, he's got the best ERA. He's got the most Fangraphs WAR. He's got the best FIP. And that was before today's start. Now, obviously, if you put up a poll and ask who do you prefer right now, Ryne Nelson or Merrill Kelly, I think most people would still choose Merrill Kelly. But I don't think too many people would choose Zach Gallen over Ryne Nelson right now. Certainly not Brandon Pfaadt, and certainly not Eduardo Rodriguez. So, it's down to Kelly and Nelson as the 2 best starters on the team.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't even know if it's debatable going back to July of last year, Jack, if Nelson has been the best starter on this team in that span. I mean, I think the numbers are pretty cut and dry. Nelson has better numbers than Merrill Kelly. Even with how good Merrill has been this year, if you go back to the middle of last season, Nelson has really been solid ever since then. In this game, Jack, I mean, we talk about Nelson's fastball a lot, and that was kind of the story again in this game. I mean, that's the way that Nelson really makes a living. He threw 54 fastballs out of his 83 pitches, and of those 54 four-seamers, there were 10 called strikes and 30 swings. He had a 40% chase rate on the fastball, so he was getting a lot of swings on fastballs that were out of the zone, and ultimately 40 of his 54 four-seamers were strikes. You're talking about close to 75-80% there. If you're able to convert fastballs into strikes at that kind of a rate, I mean, you're going to have a lot of success. And Ryne Nelson, his four-seamer, you and I talked about it during the game as well. He averaged 22 inches of induced vertical break on his four-seamer. I know we're maybe losing some people when we mention these kind of numbers, but induced vertical break is basically just how much upward movement did you have on your fastball. A fastball is a pitch that for most pitchers is best used when it's riding up in the zone, missing barrels in that way. And Nelson does that better than probably anyone in the Diamondbacks organization. 22 inches is elite kind of vertical movement. And we saw the Blue Jays just really stifled by that pitch all day long.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question, Jesse. There was some questions about whether or not Torey had too quick a hook with Nelson at 83 pitches. And I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to ever disagree with something like this when it comes to Ryne Nelson in particular, because as you and I have discussed at length, Jack, the way the D-backs have used Ryne Nelson this year is not exactly how you would have drawn it up. He's switched roles a number of times. The D-backs had decided to move him to the bullpen full-time right before Corbin Burns' injury happened. And then it was like, all right, I guess we're not doing that. I guess you're actually going back to starting. And he's just flip-flopped so many times that at this point, the most important thing is that you need Ryne Nelson to be healthy. Like, you cannot take any chances whatsoever with really any of your starting pitchers at this point. So given the 9-1 lead, I really didn't have an issue with that.
Okay, that's a very good answer. I think that's pretty reasonable. We talked about this odd usage pattern throughout the year. I mean, it was 30-something pitches. It was 50-something pitches. It was 60-something pitches, then back down to 40. Then it was a start. and just trying to get him stretched out. So I kind of thought by now, this is his third start back, that maybe he was going to be pushing up over 85 to 90 pitches, but we'll see how it looks next time. It would be nice to see him be able to get closer to 90 pitches in his next outing.
Yeah, at a certain point, you would like to see him be able to stretch a little bit beyond the 75, 80 range. I know Ryne Nelson does tend to work pretty efficiently, so fortunately, he's a guy who can give you some decent length, usually with about 80 pitches, but in the long run, you'd love to see him work into the seventh every now and then or something like that. Switching gears to the offense, Jack, in this game, Diamondbacks scored 9 runs. This was much needed for them. We talked about it on our show yesterday, how they had hit 175 as a team over the 3 games from Sunday and against the Padres, including the first 2 games against the Blue Jays. This was a nice breakout for them with 9 hits, 9 runs. Eugenio Suárez, of course, dealing the 2 big blows early. He had a 2-run home run in the second inning of this game, and then he came back and hit a 2-run double the next inning, turned a 2-1 lead into a 4-1 lead, really helped the Diamondbacks gain some separation early, and this has just been par for the course for Eugenio Suárez this year, Jack. He just continues to do the thing.
Yeah, anecdotally, it also feels like every time they're kind of struggling through the first couple innings to get something going, his second at-bat or third at bat is when he bangs one out of there and gets them on the board and gets the offense going. So he's been very much a catalyst. The timing of it just seems like a lot of times he's the one getting the offense rolling.
Geno this year, Jack, is now up to 22 home runs and 62 RBI. I've been keeping track of what he's on pace for this season, which, again, take the on pace numbers with a grain of salt. I know you like to roll your eyes when I do this, but it's a fun exercise anyway. He is on pace for 48 home runs and 136 RBIs. And before you roll your eyes too much at me, Jack, I will give you some actual numbers that in Eugenio Suárez's last 162 games going back to last year. So this is not on pace. This is what he's done in his last 162. He has 46 home runs and 132 RBI in his last 162. That's dating back to, I believe, exactly a year ago today, last June 19th. Pretty impressive numbers there.
It raises some very interesting questions too, doesn't it?
You mean about the fact that everyone wanted him DFA'd last June?
And now that may be doing a 180?
Yeah. The fact that maybe you don't want Geno walking in free agency this offseason. Maybe he's someone you'd like to bring back. Well, we will talk more about Eugenio Suárez, the D-backs offense, some other takeaways of this Blue Jays series as a whole, and we'll do that right after this break here on Snakes Territory.
It might be that time. If you're looking for a new car, there's one place to go that is going to take care of you, and it's Car Gurus.
Yeah, looking for a car should be fun, not exhausting. Everywhere else, it's exhausting. You're dodging people. You're trying to can I look at this car? Car Gurus, you type in your search, you find the color that you want, it narrows it down for you, and all of a sudden you're like, this has been an exciting experience, and you got a great deal.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US, so you can find the best deal. It's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. Buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's cargurus.com. Cargurus.com.
Here we are back on Snakes Territory, and I have to acknowledge Steven's comment in the chat. He said someone didn't update the score ticker, and now I'm getting a text message from Jack Sommers, who's on the screen, saying the same thing. Did I do that, Jack? Yeah, I guess I did. It said 9-1. Life comes at you fast with this D-backs bullpen, people. So I think we can have some grace there. Broadening the conversation to the series as a whole, Jack. We didn't talk much about the starting pitching the last couple of days on our show yesterday. Brandon Pfaadt in the opener of this series, 5 innings, 2 runs, a decent line. You'll certainly take that. I think there was a decent amount of hard contact there, and he looked a little shaky at times. The final line there was pretty decent. And then Eduardo Rodriguez in the game on Wednesday certainly was far from the only reason the D-backs wound up losing that game, but it wasn't a particularly great outing from him either. 4 2/3 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, only one of them earned, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts there. What stood out to you about Pfaadt and Erod the last couple of days?
Well, I think we also have to mention that Pfaadt hit 3 batters. He only walked 1, but he hit 3.
Yeah.
So, there were 8 base runners given up. Actually, it was a little bit less hard contact than he usually gives up. I think it was only 3 balls over 100 miles an hour, maybe 4. So it wasn't quite as much hard contact. I'll take this, as a step in the right direction for him. It was somewhat better. It's not dominant by any means, but, for a guy that's had his confidence severely shaken, he needed that to at least say, okay, I can get through 5 innings. Maybe next time he can get through 6. As we were talking about offline, the big question is where are the strikeouts and when are they coming back? Because if he can't strike anybody out, coupled with the hard contact that he gives up, it's going to be really hard for him to be very effective going forward. But this was still a step in the right direction, so I don't want to gloss over that. As for Erod, it was kind of funny. Only one of those runs was earned. The other one scored catcher's interference. And so this was a game where his ERA went down, but his FIP went up. We've been talking about the 2+. He had a 2-run gap between his ERA and FIP coming into the game, and that shrank to a 1.5 because his FIP went up with the extra walks and the home run allowed. But only 1 earned run dropped his ERA under 6. So, we'll see where it goes from there. It wasn't a bad game by any means. He came very close. He really wanted to stay in that game. I mean, he fought Torey pretty hard out on the mound to try to finish the game, and Torey wasn't having it. I don't think I've almost ever it's been a very long time since I can remember seeing Torey go out to the mound and get talked out of removing a guy. The last that might have been 2017 or 18. It just seems like a very long time since that's happened.
Yeah, I'm not at a certain point. I'm like not even sure that's possible. I guess maybe for certain veteran starters who've been here for a while, like maybe a Gallen or a Kelly could pull something like that off. Maybe less so Gallen now that he's struggled to the degree that he has. But yeah, just a quick note for me on both of those starters, Jack. I think both Pfaadt and Erod have one pitch in particular that they really need to get right in order to find success moving forward. For Pfaadt, that pitcher is the sweeper. This is a pitch that we have seen just dominate right-handed hitters at times in the past. Even last year when Pfaadt obviously went through it at times and, there were too many 3-run homers late in starts that caused some of his outings to really take a turn on him. His sweeper at times really would just dominate right-handed hitters, and we just haven't really seen that yet. In the game on Tuesday, Pfaadt threw a number of sweepers in the game, and he got 3 whiffs on 11 swings. Decent, but nothing eye-opening there. The Blue Jays had a decent number of right-handed hitters in the lineup, so it felt like an opportunity for him to kind of take some strides there. It was okay. There were some good ones, but I'd like to see Pfaadt get back to that sweeper we've seen the past couple of years. And then with Erod, the pitch that stands out is the changeup. He's doing the thing with the cutter and the sinker and the 4-seamer, trying to mix these fastballs with different shapes. But Erod's his real bread and butter pitch, in order to make it all work, is going to be the changeup, getting guys off those fastballs. And we saw a couple of good ones late in the start on Wednesday, but for most of the outing, it just felt like Erod's changeup wasn't there for him. He threw 18 changeups in the game. Only 7 of those ultimately went for strikes. A low chase rate out of the zone. I think that's a pitch he really needs to find.
I think one point about Pfaadt, and you've talked about this before, the extreme platoon disadvantage that he's had through most of the year, where 2/3 of the batters he's faced are left-handed. And so not having the opportunity to throw the sweeper to righties very much may have caused him to lose the feel for the pitch. Just not throwing it as much and not getting to throw it as much to right-handed hitters and get that sight line might might have actually been a factor here in him kind of losing the feel for the pitch.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I haven't talked to Pfaadt about that personally. Maybe it's something you bring up at some point soon. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense on paper. That could be the cause of the issue there. Other larger thoughts here on the series, Jack. I mean, we kind of talked about it on the front end of the show, but this bullpen on the whole, over the course of these 3 games, 10 innings pitched, 17 hits allowed, 13 runs, 12 of those were earned. I mean, it's going to be almost impossible to ever win a series, with bullpen numbers like that. We saw it, of course, in the opener of the series with Shelby Miller having a breakdown late. And then, of course, it was ugly on Wednesday with the 6 runs allowed by D-backs middle relievers. And then it was rough again here in the finale with Anthony DeSclafani struggling to finish this game.
Yeah. And, I see a few comments asking, we covered this in our last episode. If you get a chance, go back and listen to it if you missed it. But Mike Hazen addressed the fact that there just aren't any sellers right now. There's only a couple teams out there that are clearly identified sellers, according to Mike. And he's the one on the phone with everybody, so I'm not going to second guess him on that. It's not easy to go and make a trade if there isn't somebody on the other end of the phone ready to make a trade.
Right.
People will say, well, just pay the price, but how much do you want to overpay? Because that's what it's going to take, a massive overpay to price anybody good loose from a team that may still be on the fence about whether or not they should sell. This could all change in another week or two. It might not take 4 to 6 weeks to the very end of July to figure out who's going to be selling. But as of today, according to Mike Hazen, there's only a couple of sellers out there. So, a lot of people feel like because he hasn't made a trade, he's not doing anything. He's not sitting there on his hands doing nothing and just doing radio interviews. I mean, these guys work really hard. They work the phones. They have a ton of people doing a lot of research on all the possible pitchers that are out there. Whether it's great research and great scouting, that's another whole separate question. Clearly, there's been a lack of effectiveness in some of the decisions that have been made. But I can guarantee you it's not because they're sitting on their hands doing nothing.
Just to get an idea of where the Diamondbacks bullpen stands right now, Jack, I did my best graphic design work here. Very, very lackluster, but hey, it works for our purposes here. This is what the Diamondbacks have in their bullpen right now. It is Shelby Miller as the closer. Jalen Beeks and Ryan Thompson are basically functioning as your 2 setup guys. And then Juan Murillo, Kyle Backus, Kevin Ginkel, Taylor Scott are all acting as middle relievers of some sort. And then, of course, it's Anthony DeSclafani, as we saw today, acting as the long man. This is a look at where the numbers for all of these guys sit right now. Kyle Backus, obviously, just 4 innings there, really small sample size. He's pitched really well in the time that he's gotten. But outside of that, Jack, I mean, it's Miller pitching well at the very back end. Jalen Beeks has bounced back and looked a little bit better lately as a 3.15 ERA on the season. But Ryan Thompson, a 5.14, Juan Murillo, a 4.58, Kevin Ginkel, 13.50, Taylor Scott, 11.25, Anthony DeSclafani, 10.38. I mean, 3 of their 8 relievers have ERAs over 9 right now. And I know there's some small sample sizes there, but they're not that small. I mean, it's not just one outing that went bad. This bullpen right now is, again, as we discussed on the show yesterday, I mean, it's one of the worst bullpens in Diamondbacks history.
Yeah, it is. And, we talked about okay, well, who's down in the minor leagues to help? And, a warning to all our friends out there, if you decide to look up these names, brace yourselves. There's 5 D-backs relievers in Reno that, you might take a look at and say, well, okay, could any of these guys come up? Taylor Rashi, Andrew Saalfrank, Jake Rice, Sean Reed Foley, sorry about that, guys, and Brandon Bialik. Go look at these numbers, and you're going to realize, oh boy, it's not. Kyle Ament is hurt. Jarvis is starting. Christian Montes de Oca is out. Christian Mena is out, and those guys are probably not coming back at all this year. So
Dre Jameson is another name who's out right now.
Right, Dre Jameson is hurt. Jeff Brigham, who was just sent back, is hurt. Tommy Henry is hurt. So it's a tough road out there for these guys.
Yeah, just brutal. Well, we have more to get to with the bullpen. We're also going to talk about Gabriel Moreno hitting the 10-day injured list. Corbin Carroll, of course, his health status still kind of remains in flux right now. We're also going to preview the upcoming Rockies series this weekend. All that after this break.
It is summertime. We are in the thick of golf season. It's always golf season down in Florida, but we're in the thick of golf season across the country, and someone's looking to get a new club. That logo should say it all. PXG. What do they do?
Go get fitted. Mm-hmm. Go get fitted by one of their master fitters, professional fitters. I've done it. It's helped shave many strokes off my handicap. It is worth it. It's educational. You learn about not only clubs, you learn about shafts, you learn about grips, you learn about angles. They have all the numbers, all the setups that you need to help improve your handicap.
You feel like a VIP when you're there.
100%. They even helped my putting, which needed help.
Mm-hmm. There. They help your putting there.
There.
That's how cool it is. So schedule your fitting today, and for a limited time, you could save up to 20% on your entire order. Head over to pxg.com/foul. That's pxg.com/foul to save up to 20% on your entire order. pxg.com/foul. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Well, this morning before the start of this series finale between the D-backs and the Blue Jays, we got word that the Diamondbacks were making a roster move, placing Gabriel Moreno on the 10-day injured list with a right hand contusion, retroactive back to June 16th. And then they selected Aramis Garcia from AAA Reno, catcher, come up and fill some spots there. And then they transferred Christian Montes de Oca to the 60-day injured list. As you said earlier, expected to miss significant time there. Jack, I don't think we're too concerned about Gabby Moreno's health from a long-term perspective, but I guess this sore hand that he suffered in that rain-out game in Cincinnati has just really festered, and the Diamondbacks felt a need to make this move.
My concern's actually pretty high. He's being sent back. He's being sent back for more imaging. In a situation like this, I always worry that the hand has a lot of little small bones. A lot of times, an X-ray doesn't quite pick it up. So I'm sure he's getting an MRI. He's on his way back to Phoenix today, or came back yesterday. I'm not quite sure. Last night. So, in his case, let's see what they say after the MRI. I'll breathe a sigh of relief if they say the MRI was clean. But you always worry about some little hairline fracture or something that wasn't picked up in an X-ray. Hopefully it is just a contusion. So my level of concern is probably 6 out of 10 until we hear from them that he had a clean MRI. If it was a clean MRI, then I'm fairly confident he may have the minimum stay on the IL. And this was just a move out of necessity because he's not quite ready to go and needs a few more days. And, you can only play Jose Herrera so many games straight, especially heading into Colorado. As far as who they brought up, of course, Aramis Garcia. I almost said Aramis Ramirez. I always want to say Aramis.
I get mixed up on that too.
Aramis Garcia, he's a 32-year-old veteran backup, has never hit in the majors, hasn't had a lot of opportunity either, just a few hundred plate appearances. His career OPS plus is right in line with Jose Herrera's. I mean, neither one of them are guys that you're going to be depending on the hit. You just hope that they can keep the pitching staff going in a forward direction over the next few games in a week.
Yeah, Aramis Garcia in AAA Reno this year, 250, 399, 524. That's a 923 OPS there in 38 games. So pretty good numbers there, Jack, but it is the PCL. So
he hit 10 homers there. So, I mean, that's, but, if you look up his major league numbers, not so much. So we'll see what it looks like against major league pitching. Who knows? Maybe he found the fountain of youth and found something in a swing. You never know. You catch lightning in a bottle. It wouldn't be the first time that a backup catcher came up and hit a few home runs. Remember John Ryan Murphy? So maybe they get lucky with somebody like that.
There was a time, Jack, when I thought John Ryan Murphy was going to be the Diamondbacks' frontline catcher for a decade or something like that. We all saw how that went. Aramis Garcia. Last time he played.
Cool.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time. Aramis Garcia last played in the majors a significant amount in 2022. He played 47 games with the Cincinnati Reds. Hit 213 with a 507 OPS, 34 strikeouts compared to just 3 walks. So yeah, his track record in the majors, as you said, he's not hit well. But I guess the natural question here, Jack, is why didn't the Diamondbacks call up Adrian Del Castillo? He seemed to be hitting well in his limited opportunities in AAA. And I guess we don't really know what's up with Adrian Del Castillo. He hasn't played, to my knowledge, the past couple of games in Reno. We wondered if maybe he was on the taxi squad or something. But given the fact that they went with Aramis Garcia, I'm led to believe he wasn't on the taxi squad. And maybe there's something going on with Del Castillo's health right now.
That's the likelihood at this point. The fact that he was scratched from the lineup and hasn't played in the last 2 games, something's up there. We'll find out what it is sooner or later. I put in a request for information on that, but until they make an injured list move official, or maybe he doesn't need to go on an injured list, maybe he just got banged up for something, then they probably won't say much unless he actually goes on the injured list. So we'll just have to wait it out. I know a lot of people were upset out on the Twitterverse about why wasn't it Del Castillo, but I'm fairly certain that there's some kind of physical issue that prevented him. But the other thing is he's only caught 2 games. All of the games that he's appeared in were at DH in the ACL, and of those 5 games in AAA, only 2 were behind the plate. So it's not like he's, game ready at catcher either, really, for the major leagues.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He needs more reps.
Del Castillo.
Sorry,
go ahead.
There was a question in the chat I wanted to answer about Kevin Ginkel and his velocity. The issue isn't really so much velocity. In 2023, his fastball velocity was 95.7. Last year it was 96. This year it's 94.8. So basically it's gone from 96 to 95. He's lost 1 tick, but that doesn't explain the problems. He's lost command of the pitch and it's not moving quite the same way, but it's not a velocity issue. It's not like he lost 3 miles an hour.
Yeah, Ginkel, when he first came up, actually didn't throw very hard at all. His 4-seamer back in 2019 averaged 93.5, and then it kind of ticked up, has kind of gone up and down a little bit year by year. It is down a little bit more so this year, but I'm with you, Jack. I think the command there is really the biggest issue. I mean, I think first pitch strikes, he was like 2 for 8 or something like that in his outing the other day. He's a guy who really needs to be able to throw strikes, and he needs to be able to bury the slider late in counts, and he needs to be able to throw the slider for strikes occasionally early in counts, and we just haven't seen that level of command from him.
Yeah, well, playing devil's advocate with myself as well. A lot of times guys start to lose velocity and they start throwing a little bit more max effort to maintain their velocity. They're all aware of the gun, right? They don't want to see 93s and 94s up there. They want to see 5s and 6s. So they're going a little bit harder. And when they do that, if the velocity isn't coming as easy and they're pressing to get to that velocity, then that's when they start to lose command of their pitches as well. I think we saw this even like with Madison Bumgarner. Nobody could figure out why wasn't he effective. I mean, there wasn't much difference in his velocity, but I always felt like he was really, and I even talked to Brent Strom about that a couple times, that I thought that he was throwing almost max effort just to maintain that velocity. And that's why he couldn't place his pitches anywhere where he wanted to location-wise.
As far as Corbin Carroll is concerned, Jack, obviously there was big-time concern yesterday when Corbin was hit by a pitch in the hand. It looked like he was staying in the game, and then he wound up being removed from the game. The word there from the broadcast is that Corbin did not play, of course, in the game today, but the idea is that he could go in all 3 games over the weekend in Colorado, which is notable because Torey usually tries to give guys a day off at some point around a Rockies series anyway. So by giving him the day off today, maybe Corbin is able to play all weekend. Certainly hope for the best there. And that leads us into our preview of this weekend series against the Colorado Rockies. Jack, the Rockies started the season 9-50. And since then, they've played 500 baseball. They are 8-8 in their last 16. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. They just nearly swept the Washington Nationals in D.C. A walk-off extra inning home run by James Wood helped the Nationals salvage the finale of that series, but the Rockies really dominated. This is a different caliber team than I think the D-backs saw a month ago when they last played the Rockies.
They're certainly playing better and gaining some confidence, and it is in Colorado. So, anybody
who knows what'll happen.
Yeah, anybody that expects the D-backs to just waltz in there and sweep the lowly Rockies. I mean, I would not with this pitching staff. Anything could happen. I expect at least 2 high-scoring games, if not all 3. This is going to be a bear, and I think that. It was especially upsetting to see DeSclafani force Miller into the game today because that means that's one less game he's going to be able to pitch in Colorado. I mean, he wouldn't be able to pitch all 3 anyway. Now the question is will he be able to pitch in 2 of the games in Colorado? And hopefully, he'll be in a position for that to matter. But you look at these pitching matchups, they should all favor the Diamondbacks pretty much. I mean, they have the better ERAs and a better track record than all 3 of the Rockies starters. Austin Gomber has made 1 start, so he's got the lower ERA, but he's coming off a shoulder injury. This is just his 2nd start. So we'll see how that goes with him. But he he gave 1 unearned run in 5 innings against the Nationals in his first outing back. Palmquist, the Diamondbacks saw him for his major league debut. They got to him for 5 runs in 4 innings back at Chase Field. They haven't faced Sensatella this year, but he just came off a win as well. He pitched 5 innings, got the win against the Nationals in his most recent start as well. But he's 2-10 with an ERA over 6. So we'll see how all that goes.
Yeah, you have a nice breakdown here of all of the starting pitching matchups, which I'll show on the screen. You can see there Austin Gomber's just made the 1 start this year. He pitched well against Atlanta in his season debut, 5 scoreless innings there. Going against Zach Gallen, who of course has a 5.19 ERA this season, and then it's Merrill Kelly against Palmquist in Game 2 of the series. Merrill a 3.41 compared to Palmquist's 7.76 ERA. And then the finale, we get Brandon Pfaadt and his 5.38 ERA going up against Antonio Senzatella, who has a 6.72 on the season. So from a starting pitching standpoint, I mean, frankly, I don't know how much it matters which 3 Rockies starters you get. They're not going to be great in general. But one thing I will say about the Rockies, Jack, is that they have a better bullpen than the Diamondbacks. There's no question about it. And it's not to say the Rockies bullpen is fantastic, but the Rockies have a better bullpen than the Diamondbacks, and they have a few guys in particular in Jake Bird and Seth Halverson. There are some weapons there. So if you're down late to the Colorado Rockies, you maybe don't feel as good about making that 7th, 8th, 9th inning comeback as you have the past few years out there.
I'm sorry, my incredulous facial expressions here are like, who doesn't have a better bullpen than the Diamondbacks?
Well, just to emphasize, because the D-backs, their staff ERA is 27th in the league. It isn't 30th. At least it was entering play today. But the Rockies are not one of the teams below them, even though they play in, of course, very hitter-friendly Coors Field. So it's not to say the Rockies have a dynamite bullpen by any means, Jack, but Seth Halverson threw like 102 miles an hour the other day, finishing a game against the Nationals. So they have some arms for sure.
Well, the D-backs have a dynamite bullpen, just not in the good way. Things tend to blow up.
Oh dear, that was.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm a little punchy today.
That was good. The D-backs, of course, have just seen the Rockies one other time this year. Back in mid-May, the D-backs won 2 out of 3 at Chase Field. This will be their first trip out to Coors this season, so we'll see how it goes here over the weekend. Jack, this, of course, is the start of this 9-game stretch that we've had circled on the calendar for a while, an opportunity for the D-backs to really gain some ground in the standings. They've got these 3 games against the Colorado Rockies, then they go to Chicago for 3 games against the White Sox, then it's a day off and a 3-game series back at home against the Miami Marlins. This is 3 of the worst teams in the league, all right in a row. 9 games. You figure anything less than, I don't know, is it crazy to say that anything less than 6-3 would be a bit of a disappointment here in the next week and a half?
Well, I'm sure that everyone's going to feel that way. Anything less than 6-3 is going to be a disappointment. I think looking at the teams they're facing, a lot of people expect them to rip off a 9-game winning streak. But with this pitching staff, I don't see that happening. I would be extremely happy with 6-3. I'm kind of expecting 5-4 and some more upsetness over not beating teams that they're supposed to beat. But I would absolutely gladly take 6-3.
You're expecting 5-4, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, the only way the D-backs can go 5-4 in these 3 series is if they lose at least one of the series. It wouldn't. So you're saying the D-backs are going to lose the series to one of these 3 teams then?
That's my guess. Yes. I mean, based on what we've seen through the first, 73 games, 74 games, that's what you would kind of expect.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, this is a 500 baseball team we're talking about. It's not like the D-backs have, heck, I remember that week where they had the Pirates and the Nationals and people were already counting up their, 5-1, 4-2 even, or maybe 6-0. Some people wanted that week. The D-backs wind up going 2-4. So yeah, I think that's fair. This is not a team that has been able to capitalize on these situations in the recent past. D-backs with their win over the Blue Jays today are now 37-37 on the season. And as much as things haven't been great for them lately, Jack, and I know we're recording here midday, so these numbers are probably going to change by the time most people listen to this. But as we stand right now, the D-backs are 2.5 games out of the 3rd wildcard spot. The Padres have struggled lately. They have lost 3 in a row to the Dodgers since leaving Arizona. The NL wildcard picture is by no means easy. I don't think you're making the playoffs with 84 wins or whatever this season. I still don't expect that. But the bar seems to have lowered here recently as the Padres struggle, as the Giants have come down to earth a little bit. And really, none of those teams between the Diamondbacks and that 3rd wildcard spot have taken huge advantage of this yet.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to get that, buy-sell meter thing figured out. For those that don't know, I am extremely technologically challenged, but I thought it would be really cool to have one of those like speedometers, with neutral, buy, sell, and that we could move back and forth, game by game, week by week, depending on how this team ebbs and flows, and see, how close they get to a buy situation. So if anybody out there wants to volunteer to help me out with some good Photoshop, let me know. DM me on Twitter or something.
Yeah, I bet our people over at Foul Territory. We have some people we work with that fortunately are far better at graphic design than either me or Jack. So maybe we can get that dialed in at some point. But yeah, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments if you're watching after the fact. If the trade deadline was tomorrow, D-backs are 500, but they're only 2.5 out of the wild card. What kind of approach are you taking at the trade deadline? We'd, of course, love to hear from all of you on that front. Well, that is everything that we have for this edition of Snakes Territory. We very much appreciate all of you being with us here live in the chat or watching after the fact here on YouTube. As always, we'd love it if you'd subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really helps us out. You can drop a like on this video, as well as, again, leave a comment after the fact if you aren't here live. You can find us on social media. I am at Jesse N. Friedman. Jack is at ShoeWizard59, and our show is at Snakes Territory. Jack does a great job covering the Diamondbacks over at si.com/MLB/Diamondbacks. So be sure to keep it locked to all of his great work coming out over there. Jack, any other thoughts before we say goodbye here for this final show of the week for us?
Just enjoy the weekend, everyone. I hope everyone has a safe one. It's hot out there, so if you're here in Arizona, hydrate, drink lots of water.
Yeah, that is always the case this time of year. That's for sure. Well, again, thank you so much to all of you for being with us. We really appreciate it. And we'll be back with another episode of Snakes Territory very, very soon.